football, just ask him. But he's going to have to change his optics. So Jerry loves offensive football. No. He loves his football, but he loves offense because offense sells tickets.
Yeah.
But as the T-shirt says, but defense wins championship. They have an outstanding defense, especially their front seven. I believe their secondary, because they're young, is really, really underrated. So they are right. If they want to be a playoff team, it's going to be based on that defense.
I'm glad to hear Jerry say this just from a selfish perspective, because I feel like this show was one of the only shows that during the offseason, when we talked about the Cowboys, we kept saying the defense could be the strength of their team. Now, Byron Jones, the first-round pick, transitioned from safety to corner. Thus far, that's worked well.
Yeah, great point there,
too. The secondary is the only part of the defense I have real questions about. That linebacking core is excellent. It's Sean Lee, it's Jalen Smith, first-round pick, Leighton Vander Esch is already playing well. Like, they have the makings of a very good defense, which when the offense struggles the way it has, they need it.
All right, moving on to the Thursday night matchup, the Jets and the Browns. Browns are home favorites for the first time since 2015, with Tyrod Taylor looking to bounce back after a rough start to the season. CC, is there any thought of moving to Baker Mayfield if Taylor doesn't get it done soon?
I just have seen Todd Haley. He's the offensive coordinator for the Browns. I've seen him call plays for years in this league. And either Todd has totally changed what he does football-wise, how he's going to attack the defense, or they're trying to protect the quarterback. And that's what I've seen on film. So for me, it would be on the board. One more week of conservative play, because Tyrod has not played great football, even though the team around him, special teams-wise, outside the kicking, and their defense has played well enough for them to be 2-0.
If everyone's going to say with better kicking, they'd be 2-0. And that's true. It's also true with better quarterback play. Just slightly better quarterback play, they'd be 2-0. I think Tyrod was treated unfairly last year. People this year, I don't know, in week one, he was awful.
Yes.
In week two, he was better, but he threw a critical interception, which you can't do if you're going to be as conservative as they've been. I think they're going to win tomorrow. So this will be a moot point for a little bit. But if they lose tomorrow, then the discussion on Friday will be, should it be Baker Mayfield now?
All right, the Eagles announced that Mike Wallace is going on the IR with his broken leg. And according to reports, Philadelphia will sign former Eagle Jordan Matthews to help fill the void. Matthews caught 19 touchdowns in 3 seasons as an Eagle. Cris, how much will this help Philadelphia?
It will help him. I mean, he's a good football player inside of the right system. He can play in the slot. They run a lot of those RPOs with the crossing routes. That was one of the things that he was really successful with the Eagles. He was there with Chip Kelly. Now, they kept some of Chip Kelly's offense with Doug being the coach, so there is some carryover. I didn't think he was a good fit in New England and what they try to do for wide receivers. But for Philadelphia, he has shown that he can be effective when he's healthy. Now, I do believe, not like Josh Gordon, I do believe that my man can play Jordan this weekend. Now, he's a smart learner. Vanderbilt graduate, really a smart and astute football player. Different story than...
And familiarity with the organization, even though it's different coaching staff, which I totally understand. Listen, this also speaks to the somewhat desperate straits Philly is in with their passing game right now. No Alshon Jeffrey. They moved on from Torrey Smith. They thought they improved their deep threat with Mike Wallace. Maybe they did, but he's gone now. That adds to the degree of difficulty for Carson Wentz in his first game back post-ACL.
All right, Patrick Mahomes has thrown 10 touchdowns and no picks in 2 Chiefs wins. Steelers linebacker Bub Dupree admitted his team underestimated the intelligence of Mahomes, saying he was better than we thought, while Brett Favre said Mahomes' talent is as good as anyone in the league. Nick, what has been the key to Mahomes' remarkable early success?
Just real quick, and remember, our guy Tom Bahali came here and said he thought Mahomes reminded him of Brett Favre. Now, Brett Favre was paying that compliment forward. To me, it's a pie. It's 4 pieces. You can divvy them up how you want. One is sitting last year and who he sat behind, with Alex Smith being very generous with knowing that this guy was drafted to replace me. I've played the best football of my career as a Kansas City Chief. It wasn't good enough for them to want to keep me after this last season. I'm still going to open everything up to Pat Mahomes. That's the first point. Second point is Andy Reid, who seems to get the most out of his quarterbacks at every stop at every quarterback. The third piece is the unbelievable weapons the Kansas City Chiefs have, the spark scores of crazy athleticism. And the fourth one, C, is Pat Mahomes. He has special arm talent, and his ability to come in just games 2 and 3 of his career and play at a super high level against very good competition. He has to get a lot of credit for this as well.
Yeah, 4 very, very good points. there's guys in the league that can throw the football, but that's what they do. They throw it. Now, he's actually a pitcher, like his dad was, a Major League Baseball pitcher. And you can see this by the variance of throws that he makes. How high sometime the ball goes, sometime how flat it needs to go. Now, the Bud Dupree comment, it should be baked into him spreading the ball around. Pittsburgh tried to blitz him. And I think what Bud is saying is it's a good compliment. Younger players, let's blitz them. Let's confuse them. So they tried this. It didn't work with them. They tried to blitz him at the goal line. What does he do, Nick?
Dumps off the running back.
Running back was hot. He threw it to the running back. So that's where you start to get comments, wow, okay, now, normal rookies don't do those types of things. So I agree with Nick. There's a lot of things being put in place, and that's also the reason why we think he's going to be a long player, a good player for a long period of time. He's got a lot of good situations going for him. Success early in your career is very, very important. Most pro athletes have not experienced a whole bunch of failure. That was the one thing with Brian Billick when I was working out Randy Moss when we drafted Moss. He was like, Cris, what do we need to do with him? I said, man, I didn't show him. I didn't have him go against NFL DBs. I've had him run against the fastest guys in the league. Man, I got his confidence high, man. I need you to throw him the ball. I need him to think he's really, really good early. So getting the guy's confidence early and what he can do early, that's what you see with Andy Reid. They're better off in a spread formation. It lets you know what the defense is in, where the holes are, and where my hots are. How he's calling plays lets me know how good the kid is. Because even Donovan McNabb, at that age, Andy Reid was not calling the game the way he called the first 2 weeks of the season.
And that's a good point. Andy Reid loves this kid.
Absolutely.
Loves him and has so much confidence in him. All right, let's switch gears, talk some college football. Big news for Ohio State. Urban Meyer returns to the sideline as the Buckeyes take on Tulane. Meyer's missed the last 3 games due to suspension. To break it all down, we are joined by Fox lead college football analyst Joel Klatt. Joel, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Good morning.
All right, let's start there with Urban Meyer, who does make his return to the sideline this Saturday. What do you expect his immediate impact to be on the Buckeyes?
Well, I'm going to let everyone into a little secret that just us football players realize. On game day, the last thing we really know about the head coach is what he says to us in the locker room. It doesn't really affect a player on the field. There's much more interaction with the head coach during the course of the week, of practice. And remember, Urban Meyer's been at practice for the last 2 weeks of practices leading up to those games. So I don't think it's going to affect them at all. Remember, this is a team that right now offensively is playing as good or better than they ever have, in particular in the Meyer era. They're second in total offense, second in scoring offense. Ryan Day's done a remarkable job with that game plan, along with Kevin Wilson, the former Indiana head coach. And so now it's just who's the last guy that's going to speak in the locker room before you run out onto the field. And I don't think that has a lot to do with how you play, quite frankly. So I really don't believe that this is going to affect Ohio State at all because they've had this guy at practice, speaking of their head coach, Urban Meyer, for the last 2 weeks.
Joel, Nebraska and Michigan, noon Saturday on FS1. Who do you like in that game?
I like Michigan in this game because, remember now, Nebraska is banged up at the quarterback position, and this is a really important guy, Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez is a true freshman. You might be thinking, why is a true freshman so important? Because this was the guy that Scott Frost knew he had to get to commit when he first got the job at Nebraska. This guy's a very talented player. He got hurt in that first game against Colorado in the loss to the Buffaloes, and they just have not been the same since. They've been playing with walk-on true freshmen at the quarterback position. Meanwhile, Michigan has started to get it going a little bit. They're running the ball very well. They're getting the ball on the outside. Donovan Peoples-Jones has 3 touchdowns, by the way, as a wide receiver. They had 3 touchdowns to wide receivers in general all of last season. And Shea Patterson, each and every week, gets more comfortable with the offense, and that's a defense that you know is going to play salty defense. So give me Michigan in this ultimate 1997 rematch. Is that what this is all about with the co-national championships from 97? So, yeah, I like Michigan in this game.
Joe, let's bounce over to the SEC. We see Alabama with an offense that we've never seen a Nick Saban coach team with. Probably the best Alabama offense in the history of the school. How big is the gap between Alabama and the rest of the country?
Okay, so my hands are apart. One's low, one's high. That's the gap right now. Bama looks unbelievable. You talked about the offense, and let me give you some level of perspective about what's going on offensively for Alabama. Since Nick Saban won his first title at Bama in 2009, basically the only way to unseat Bama from that throne was to have transcendent quarterback performances, either in the championship